So this is all about you. This podcast is about you and your journey in music and how you got to where you are now.
Okay. Just a
Cool.
short story.
It is. It is a short story. Well, I guess we'll hear it all. To be determined. So I
Yeah.
did read that you're from Minneapolis area
Yes.
originally. Talk to
Yes.
me
I'm
about that a
from
little bit.
Blaine, Minnesota, originally
Okay.
from the state of hockey. And yeah, my family still lives there. My parents and my brother and his wife, they all live there still. And I have extended family there too. But I haven't lived there since I left for college. So
Wow. I did see that you went to
yeah,
college like for hockey. So this is so
I did.
you kind of had two separate lanes, right? Going at
Yeah.
similar time, or were you always into music? When did that start?
Yeah, I was always into music. I always tried to do both. It was actually pretty funny growing up. I was always the only person who was in choir and played a sport,
Oh, interesting.
and vice versa. And so there'd be times where it would like overlap, and so there was times where I would have to go in earlier in the day and sing all of my soprano parts for my choir director for the whole
Mhm.
concert that we had that night so that I could play my hockey game and not go to the concert.
Oh, wow.
And then I started getting really frustrated because I'm like, can you stop scheduling concerts on days when we
On
have
hockey
games?
games? Yeah.
I'm like, at what point is this not my fault?
Sure, sure. So when did you start? I mean, obviously singer, but when did you start singing? Very early?
Yeah, really early actually. My parents actually unfortunately have videos of me from like 2 3 years old dressing myself up in like cowboy boots and costumes and like giving concerts
Sure.
to them, and really happy they filmed that. So
Those on YouTube?
I hope not, but I guarantee you if anyone were to call my mom, she'd be like, oh my gosh, yeah, 1 second, let me
Let
find
me
that for you.
let me send them over to you.
Send that right over. And I'm like, mom, you can't be doing that stuff. But yeah, they have all the way back, and so I think that's kind of why I always wanted to marry, the two. Oh, there's my dog.
Hi,
um
dog.
Perks of working from home. I think that's kind of why I always wanted to marry the two, just because I never wanted to kind of give up one or the other, because I love, obviously love both. And so even in high school, I would sing the national anthem in my equipment and then
Really?
go play the game.
Wow, that's really awesome.
Very weird. Everyone
I'm
from the other teams would be like,
I'm
what?
sure not many people have ever seen that ever, right?
Yeah, they'd be like, why is the goalie singing?
Oh, so you were a goalie, that was your position?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Well, what was the first instrument you learned? Did you get put in piano lessons or anything like that growing up?
I did take piano when I was younger, and then I kind of lost it and kind of stopped doing it a bit, which I'm regretting now, because now I wish that I could play the piano well enough to, do content and covers and like all that kind of stuff by myself. So I'm sort of getting back into it, slowly but surely.
Very cool. What about guitar? Never picked up a guitar or
No, it's funny. I don't think it's my instrument. Is that weird to say?
no?
Like,
To each their own, right?
I feel like some people pick up guitar, they're like, yeah, this feels right. I'm like, it's just not really.
Doesn't
No, I
feel
mean,
right.
yeah, it doesn't feel right. Like, I love acoustic guitar. I love doing acoustic stuff, like, playing and everything. But as far as like playing it, I don't know. I feel like not only does it strange for me to do, but I feel like I don't look normal doing it. I don't know.
Well, did you start writing songs at an early age? Like when did that all happen for you?
Yeah, I think that I started writing before I knew I was writing, if that makes sense. Like,
Hmm.
I, especially in college, um, playing a sport in college, it's really like having a full-time job. And
Oh,
so,
sure.
and especially the NCAA, you're not really allowed to promote yourself in any other way, other than,
Oh, really? Other than
yeah,
just you're a hockey player or whatever sport you
basically,
play?
yeah, like if you have a scholarship or if you're on, part of the NCAA, a member of the NCAA, you're not really allowed to promote yourself in any other way, because I don't know, it's just a rule they have, I guess.
That's
So I couldn't,
interesting.
yeah, so I couldn't do any of the talent shows or like competitions or like anything like that.
I wonder though, now that you say that, that kind of makes sense in a certain aspect. Like if you were, say, like the top NBA star, right? And you're like, I'm going to start a music career. And then you have this already have like this built in, like massive audience.
Yeah, it wouldn't
That
be
you
fair.
could, yeah, right. Okay. Now I kind of see where they're going with that. Or you could even get, because you're not allowed to make money, right? In the
Right,
NCAA.
right.
And that would be another way of being like, well, I'm making money because I'm a whatever rock star or whatever.
It'd be like technically using them to.
Right. Using their platform because of your celebrity status due to
Yeah,
their
right.
like, yeah, their audience, so to speak. That's interesting. I've never thought
Yeah,
about that.
I'd never thought about it either until I was gonna audition for American Idol in college, and
Really?
they were like, no.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So
they were like,
did they tell you no, or was it like the coach like, hey, you can't do
well,
that? Like, how did?
it was basically I had to ask permission, and then they were like, you technically you can, but you can't miss any school, you can't, miss any hockey, you can't wear anything that says school
NCAA
on
or
it,
yeah.
anything like that. You can't wear any of that. You can't mention that you do that. You can't do anything like that. And so it kind of is like, well, that makes no sense. Like, I'm not.
Right. There's
I,
no backstory there. They're like, so what do you do? You're like, I'm not allowed to tell you guys anything about me.
so what do you do? I exist.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That makes a little bit of sense. That's
But yeah, so I feel like in college is when I started really like journaling and writing things I was going through and everything like that. And I don't think I even realized that they were song ideas until much later.
mhm.
And so the relationships I went through, more the second half of college and after, I mean, is basically my whole first album.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So
So
a lot of
the
material.
yeah, the Love Hangover record.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was all written during the second half
Yeah.
of your college experience.
Written or inspired by specifically one relationship, but we're just
Right. Got you. So, wow. Okay. So you obviously were an incredible hockey player or are an incredible hockey player.
well, thanks.
So you get a full ride scholarship to go play hockey in the NCAA. That
Yeah.
is huge in itself. I mean, talk about an accomplishment. Like, what was that moment like?
It was crazy. It was something that I didn't even know that I wanted until probably I'd say freshman year of high school. I was like, no, I'm gonna do this.
Mhm.
I've been working, I've been playing since I was 3. So this is, like
Right.
I'm gonna make something of this and at least, get some benefits and, go as far as I possibly can at least.
Sure.
And that's kind of how I feel about music too. When I switched over, because when you're playing a sport, D1 sport, it's kind of not reality. You're kind of in this bubble of
Mhm.
people doing things for you, and like it's not really reality. And so when I graduated, I had to make a decision if I wanted to continue playing, do national team stuff, or move on. And I decided to start my life, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, and then I was like, you know what? If I don't do music right now, I'm never gonna do it full time. And so it just kind of was.
You decided to just go for it.
I'm like, this is what I always
Wow.
wanted to do. So
Mhm. Wow. Well, I did on your Instagram. I did see that you guys won like the NCAA championship twice. Like
yeah,
it's crazy. Oh my
but
goodness.
yeah, it's like weird to say, especially in this living in the South.
Uh huh.
Everyone's like, wait, like ice hockey? And like, is there another one? I didn't.
Oh, you're in Nashville now.
Yeah.
That's where actually I'm in Nashville as well.
Oh,
My family and I we just moved here a couple months ago. Like not even a couple, like 6 weeks ago.
same.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. Where did you move from? Minneapolis?
Same. No, I moved from Atlanta. I've been in Atlanta for the last 8.5 years. So I
Interesting.
I just moved here from there. I just with the new music and I've been working full time as a musician in Atlanta for the last 8 years, but just
Oh, okay.
with the new music and just the response I was getting from it, and then I started working with an amazing PR firm, and it's sort of like everything leaning towards me basically putting off moving here,
Hmm.
and I just felt like it was the right time and it was the best thing for my music and just my career in general to just be here and be available and be in it
Hmm.
and be able to do the writers rounds and say yes to co-writes and just be available.
Sure.
So
That's awesome. Wow, congratulations. How funny. Wow. Okay. So tell me about, you graduate college. Obviously you're playing hockey.
yeah.
Graduate college. You said that first record that you did was kind of about the second half of your college experience. When did you record that, and what gave you the courage to kind of go, I need to go to the studio and I want to pursue this full time?
Yeah, so I recorded that 2012-ish,
Okay.
2012, 2013, early 2013. I was living in New York at the time. I was working doing PR for a sports management company in New York, which is what I went to school for. So I was like, maybe I should do what I went to school for a little bit. But and then my uncle is actually a recording artist, and he introduced me to a publisher down here in Nashville.
Wow.
And so I came down and just did a couple sessions. It was the first time I ever recorded anything,
What was that experience like?
period.
Yeah, was that cool?
It was awesome.
Terrifying?
You know what? You know what? It was the opposite of the guitar. It felt right. It really,
Interesting.
really felt right. Recording felt right. And so we did a few songs, and then I kind of just sat down with him and I was like, listen, be honest with me. This is what I think I should be doing. Um, do you think I should be doing this? Like, is this something I should pursue? And
You
he
asked your
said,
uncle this?
no, the
Oh, the
publisher.
publisher. Got you.
Yeah. Cause, he was getting no benefits from, lying to me or anything like
Right,
that,
right, of course.
and so he was like, yeah, I think you can do this. And I was like, okay. So
Awesome.
I moved and recorded the first album. And yeah, that's crazy though. That I just like, why do those rash decisions?
Did you start playing the record out, or what was the next move?
Yeah, so I came down to Nashville for a few months and I recorded half the album here and I recorded half the album in LA with John Fields, and which was amazing in itself. I mean, he's a legend.
Hmm.
So um the first album was kind of like a hodgepodge of different studios and different people involved and all kinds of stuff. So um yeah, and that was 2013, which is so crazy. um that it's now on my third project, which is weird.
Yeah. Wow. And then after that record, the next album that put out was Ricochet Heart.
Yeah.
And that was a few years later. I mean, that one looks like it came out in 2018.
Yeah, I'm not sure why I wait so long in between releasing music, but I think this one now is like a good 3.5 years since the last one even. But yeah, Ricochet Heart was, I think I was starting to really find myself as a songwriter in Ricochet Heart.
Hmm.
And I did that whole album with Kevin Bowe. We co-wrote that album and recorded it all in his studio in Minnesota, actually. And so that album I kind of wanted to be a nice follow-up of Love Hangover and sort of like a bounce back type situation, of kind of finding yourself again after such a consuming relationship. So that one, yeah, that was fun. I loved doing that album, and I've loved playing everything from that album for the last few years.
Hmm.
Those songs are really fun to play live with the band. So
Were you able to, at this point, were you touring at all or just playing locally?
yeah, so up until the world stopped,
Sure.
I I was touring regularly. I think COVID 2020 was the longest I'd ever been home for the longest period of time.
Oh, really?
So and I love touring. I love being on the road. And so that was very difficult to just be a complete halt.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's actually what led to the new music, because I had to kind of redirect
You had a
from,
lot of time on your hands.
yeah, I had to redirect because, you know, touring and playing shows is such a creative release. Oops, sorry. Such a creative release, for me at least, and a stress reliever and all that kind of stuff. So not having that was really hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I think refocusing that energy into writing new music is what worked for me. And I feel like a lot of artists kind of had to do that.
Sure, sure. Where were you when the world kind of came to a halt? Were you on tour?
Atlanta. No,
Oh, you're okay.
I was in Atlanta. Yeah. We had a ton of stuff scheduled, and then starting February, everything just, domino effect canceled.
Sure.
So everything we had scheduled for 2020 was just,
All gone. And
yeah.
did you have the songs the most recent one that kind of just came out, right?
Yeah,
End of,
February.
yeah, February, something like that. Was that a song and part of this new project you have coming out? Was that stuff that you had written pre-pandemic, or was that all written
No,
during everything after everything shut down?
yeah, all during.
Okay.
Yeah, Will and I sat down, and I was like, I want to do a new project. And he was like, okay. And I'm like, want to do it together? So Will Gittens and I, we sat down and we wrote all of these songs together, all 5 of them. And Something Like That was actually the first one we ever wrote, and the first time we ever wrote together, period.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But he's my best friend. So it's kind of easier to write with someone that knows you really well, but also harder because they push you more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, Something Like That, we just sat down and he did something silly on the guitar, and he goes, yeah, or something like that. And we both were like, light bulb. We don't know what this is
There it
about,
is.
but that's the title. Whatever this is
Yeah.
about, that's the title. So yeah, but it just turned into kind of stepping back and looking at what you really need in relationships and what people think they need. And I feel like a lot of people get caught up in all these little small details of these specific things that they need from relationships. But in reality, it's, don't lie to me, spend time with me, be nice
Sure.
to me.
Yeah.
And, you really shouldn't need much else to be happy. And if you can't do those simple things or something like that, then it's probably not going to work.
I love that. I love that. I'm curious
So,
to know, like, speaking more to the live performances, like, I mean, playing hockey in front of huge audiences, I mean,
yeah.
NCAA championships and stuff. I mean, the rush that you get from something like that, something like that,
Yeah.
does it
Everyone
even
that knows me, that's what they do every time.
how does that compare to like going live? I mean, playing live on stage, like, did you have that same adrenaline, like when you go out to play to an audience, or is
Oh,
it
yeah.
like a totally different thing because I mean, hockey was something that you had just done since you were 3, or like, tell me about that.
I think it's the exact same feeling. Like I
Okay.
get the exact same feeling from it.
Mhm.
Um, Preparation is a little different.
Mhm.
But mentally, not really, because especially being a goalie, yeah,
Mhm.
you're part of a team, but I'm back there by myself. So it's
Right.
all kind of very similar. Like, yeah, I have a band with me, but it's still me. And it's my name, and I'm responsible for everything that happens. So it's odd how similar it is mentally, at least.
Sure.
And so it's funny because I get done and I feel like people don't realize how much of like a workout shows are.
You're
Like
right. Yeah.
when you're playing like 2-3 hour sets, and you
Mhm.
get done and the adrenaline is going when you're playing, you get done and you're just like you
Right.
wiped.
Right.
And
Sure.
yeah, and so that's really similar too. But I do think that having that athletic mentality, and like the discipline
Mhm.
and having to be mentally tough is one of the main reasons why I'm able to do what I do now, for sure.
I love that. I also just thought of this when you were talking too. Is like, the pressure that you have, like you said, you're in the back as a goalie, but really like the weight of the team is kind of held on your shoulders because
Oh yeah.
if somebody scores a goal, then it's always like they look at you like
Yeah.
you're the problem. It's like, well, there was 3 against me. Like,
Right.
where were
Like,
you
well,
at?
where were the 5 of you?
Right, exactly.
But it's similar though, because once it does get to you, then it's all on you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like playing shows, it's just starting from that point.
Right. You're
And
starting with 3 people coming down at
yeah,
you with the puck.
yeah. And
Wow.
I love it.
That's
I mean,
interesting. Yeah. Never thought of
you
that.
have to love the pressure to be a goalie, but you also have to love the pressure to be a musician. So I mean, I love it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And then with the pandemic and these songs, were they recorded? Like, how was that process? And I mean, you said you wrote them with your best
Yeah,
friend, so that's
so
probably easy enough to be in the same room. But like,
yeah.
was it a challenge to find a studio or record the record, or how was that?
We were actually lucky. I mean, him and his brother, Sterling, his brother produced all the records. So we kind of, the 3 of us did the whole thing. And so they have an at-home studio. So we actually wrote and recorded everything at their house.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, that
Yeah.
works out quite nicely then.
Yeah, and then his brother produced them all. So we would be in one room recording them, and then he would bounce them over to him. He'd produce them. So
Wow,
yeah, it was really fun.
that is awesome. How long did the record take?
We did probably like, we spaced it out quite a bit. I think we did like 1 a month.
Oh, okay. It
Yeah.
wasn't like you guys just did a whole like weeks or
Yeah,
something,
no.
like hammer the whole thing out.
Yeah, no. We did
Got it.
yeah, we did like, I'd say 1 a month. Starting in September-ish.
Okay. That's awesome.
August, September, yeah.
And now it looks like, I mean, people are scheduling shows. There's shows here in Nashville that are going to be happening in the next few months. Obviously, Bonnaroo and the big pilgrimage festival in Franklin, and like there's a bunch of stuff happening here coming up in like September. Are you hoping, and do you have stuff scheduled? And
Oh, I'm so excited. I was actually just talking to my publicist and my team about everything. I'm like, we're back. I'm like,
yeah, right.
I'm like, get my press kit ready. We're booking stuff. Like, I'm like, I'm never saying no to a gig for the rest of my life.
So that's a yes. There's stuff coming. There's stuff coming soon from
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I
Sure.
love it. Very cool. And thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having this. It's fun. I love doing
Course.
stuff like this.
Well, I have one more question for you. Do you
Yeah.
have any advice for aspiring artists?
Such a tough question because it depends on the person, obviously. But I think the best advice is don't ever let anybody tell you who you're supposed to be as an artist. I feel like people try and kind of put us in these little boxes of where we're supposed to be or what we're supposed to sing or play or write or whatever. And there is a place for everyone. And so I feel like the biggest thing is just don't let someone try and conform you and tell you you're only going to make it if you do this type of music or stuff like that. You just really have to stay true to yourself and also remember that our industry is a roller coaster. So just because you're in a low point doesn't mean there's not a high point coming.
Bringing it backward.